guys, welcome back. So what we're looking at today is lesson 11, which is about scales without units. So sometimes you may see a scale and it doesn't necessarily say what unit of measure we're in. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So we're looking at same drawing, different scales. So a rectangular parking lot is 120 feet long and 75 feet wide. Lynn made a scale drawing of the parking lot at a scale of 1 inch to 15 feet. The drawing she produced is 8 inches by 5 inches. Diego made another scale drawing of the parking lot at a scale of 1 to 180. The drawing he produced is also 8 inches by 5 inches. Explain or show how each scale would produce an 8-inch by 5-inch drawing. So in Lynn's case, obviously Lynn's is the easy one to take and think about, being as we have the actual unit of measure. So for every 15 feet in the actual, we have 1 inch in the scale drawing. So if we take 120 and divide it by 15, that's how we get our 8 inches. And then the 75 divided by 15 is how we get our 5 inches. So Lynn, 1 inch equals 15 feet. So 120 is 8 inches. Oops, that should say 75. 75 is 5 inches. So that's how we know with Lynn. Now with Diego, so 1 unit represents 180 of the same unit. So the 1 and the 180 are in the same unit. So if 1 inch equals 180 inches, 180 inches equals 15 feet. So we can use that to help us, being as it's in the same unit. So I'm going to write it down here. Once again, I apologize for the weird lines this does. This is 1 unit represents 180 of the same unit. So if we consider it in inches, 1 inch equals 180 inches. 180 inches is the same thing as the 15 feet. And so that's how we know our drawing is the 8 by 5 inches. Now for number 2, make another scale drawing of the same parking lot at a scale of 1 inch to 20 feet. So the original for Lynn's was 1 inch to 15 feet. Now we're going to be looking at 1 inch to 20 feet. So how we solve this is we're going to take our 120, because that's how many feet long our parking lot is. So 120 divided by 20 is going to give us 6 inches. And 75 divided by 20 is going to give us 3 3/4 inches. So our rectangle would have to be 6 by 3 3/4 inches. So this is smaller than the original one that Lynn made because the number in our scale is more. So we're covering more feet with every 1 inch that we have in our scale drawing. So when comparing scales, it's very important to understand that the 15 feet is coming from the original. So every 15 feet, that's going to represent the 1 inch. So these are about dividing when we're looking at these kind of scales. So scales is your key word for this lesson, scales. All right, number 3, express the scale of 1 inch to 20 feet as a scale without units. So 20 feet is how many inches? Well, 20 times 12 would be 240. So 20 feet equals 240 inches. So 1 to 240 would be a way of taking and expressing the scale with no units. So when we do it with no units, that has to mean that both parts of our scale are representing the same kind of unit. And being as we're dealing with feet and inches, things like that, in this case, we just make it all about the inches. Okay? So that's what you guys are looking at today. It's going to be all about scales and taking and going between different kinds of scales and scales without units and knowing how to do those, okay? All right. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Have a great day.